Hi, everyone. I am Neil Dixit, CEO and founder of Panoplai. Thanks for joining me today for this lightning demo. The next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to show you some pretty cool stuff about how Panoplai is transforming the way that we're doing research. We unify scattered data, we make insights conversational, and we unlock the value of our platform using things like agentic AI. But before that, oops, what is Panoplai? We are the complete insights platform. All right, so we are an end-to-end research platform that allows users to be able to uncover meaningful, nuanced insights. Okay, so what does that mean? It's research at every stage of the research cycle. All right, everything from being able to take an idea or a business problem and working with that to be able to have our platform draft smarter questions that are really grounded in real data. Right. All right. Second, collect and create. This is where you pull everything together, right? So you can bring in, current data, you can bring in past data, you can run new surveys themselves, or even generate synthetic data to fill in the gaps. Third, to explore and engage. So this is really the fun part, right? So digital twins, you can literally talk to your data. You can test hypotheses, you can simulate conversations, and which allows you to be able to surface insights as they evolve. And then finally, analyze and report. What normally would take days or even longer can be done in minutes, right? So everything from automated coding of your open ends to automated analysis of things like sentiment, to summarizing individual questions or your entire data set all in one common, easy to use area. Here is our platform. So if I click on login here, you can see that obviously there's a lot going on here, right? So I have the ability to essentially, these are all my studies I have here. I can decide to upload files, like we talked about before. Of course, we can decide to view all of our studies. I can decide to create a new study. I can also upload data itself. And then I'll get into the chat with data in a few minutes as well. Let's go into our actual study. Okay, so this is about a 20-question study that we pre-programmed as a patient-centered communication research. There's a lot you can do here, right? I also have this brand new area of the tool, which has not been rolled out to production yet, but we're just in the final stages of rolling this out. And this is essentially an agent. All right, so what this really allows us to do is rather than clicking at these questions one at a time and entering them in, I can actually decide to say, you know what, let's just create an NPS question, a concept test, scale question, all these, launch the study automatically to a target audience, or I can even type something in and say, you know what, let's create a concept test with 3 new concepts. Each respondent will see 2. And then as I enter that in, that would automatically create the concept test for me, so you don't have to worry about clicking different buttons and everything. It really, really speeds things up. All right, so we launched our study. We went out to 100 people across the United States. So let's take a quick look as to who they are. So you can see that for every person who takes our study, we know all this information about them. Everything from age, gender, region, income, ethnicity, right? What's their sexual orientation, what ailments they might have. All these different things are automatically brought in, okay? And then, of course, I can do just basic results. When seeking healthcare support, what type of professionals do you seek? Again, you can see here, like clinics, doctors, of course, hospitals, specialists. And then you can do a lot of analysis here. You can decide to filter it down to those who are only under the age of, call it, 44 years old, and you can see everything update dynamically. All right. So now we're filtering down to 36 people, those who are under the age of 35 years old. Of those, the question about feeling more heard, you can see a sentiment here. So you can see of the 106 people who answered this question, about 14% are feeling negative or 14%, so 22% are feeling about negative or mixed about that. And then when I filter down to those, you can see people are feeling distrust, caution, unsure, dissatisfied. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, and then here's a simple word cloud. Right? People are concerned about wake time, about stress. So that's helpful. But what would be more helpful is actually looking into having AI figure this out for you. That our AI automatically categorizes all answers for all open-ended questions here for you, right? So this is broken down into categories like time and attention, active listening, personalized care, communication. So I can decide to even go into time and attention, more time with doctor. That's interesting. 11 people talked about that. Let's click into there. All right, and then you can see here a person saying, you know what, monthly checkups with an independent doctor and discuss any issues that you have that you have with your health. Ask for resolution and solve your issues. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder who this is. This is an 80-year-old male from Florida who's relatively low income, who enjoys going hunting, and he's a Republican. Okay, and then you can actually see here's all the answers to his questions. Okay, this is a real human being who answered these questions. And then as I scroll down, you can actually see some of these additional questions right here at the bottom. And these questions here, these were both generated and answered by AI. Okay, so essentially what our platform did is knowing all the information we know about this human being, which is about 40 to 50 data points that were all collected by our platform about him. It's able to then go into our own historical clustered database and find similar humans or similar answers that are adjacent, and to be able to better inform our model to answer these additional questions about how this person would answer. Okay, so this is like a brand new area that on our platform that's being utilized across teams and marketing innovation, especially. They're finding it very, very useful to get to nuanced audiences. And here I can decide to essentially activate this person and ask them additional questions, right? And this is essentially created a digital twin of this 80-year-old guy, right? And I can decide to ask him additional things. So here we're saying, would check-ins more often than once per month help, in your opinion? And then here you go. You can see he's saying that yes, having check-ins more often than once per month would certainly help. You can see we have all these other areas here. We have summaries. We have at the top here we have the summary of the entire study, right? So we have this new agent here as well, right? You can see here's some of the different areas that we can do. These are just a handful of them. I can automatically have it, categorize all my open ends, right? So automatically will code all your open ends for you here by clicking on submit, right? That's a new area there. I also have the ability to have it create, question summaries if I want to, or study summaries automatically. So just some really cool shortcuts that are being enabled through this use of this agentic technology that we're rolling out. Let's get into AI conversations. So you can see here's a chat with the audience. This is all 106 people who took the survey. Of course, we can narrow this down to different subpopulations or different subsegments of the population. We've actually even done that here. We asked about a question: is there a difference between how chronically ill and generally healthy people respond to the survey? And you can see here that the answer is generally yes. So feeling respected, right? 83% of those with chronic conditions preferred the message, "You know your body best. We're here to support what works for you," compared to 95% of healthy respondents. And you can see that shows here in the chart here that automatically is added into here, right? And you can see that other charts are automatically embedded in line to our chat here. Tell me more about healthy people, right? And again, you can see it brings me the results dynamically as it reads all of the charts that have been automatically pre-processed that get inserted automatically into our chat here. Okay, what I might want to do is I might want to analyze more than one data set, right? So I can do that by going into this chat with data area, right? You have the ability to not just pick studies, but I can also pick files, right? So I can decide to put in, whatever studies I want to, right? I can decide to, add in a number of different studies here. And I also have the ability to add in files themselves, right? And this puts it into one common repository. Okay, that's private to you. Doesn't get used to train any other area of the platform, right? It's private to you, private to your company. And then you can use our platform to analyze the data that's there. And you can also use it to bring it to life to create more intelligent versions of digital twins that I showed you there. All right, so why don't we look at that? So we have this case example here. We have two studies that we've grouped together. All right, one is called patient-centered communications research. That's the one I just showed you. And another one is living with diabetes, your experiences and needs. Okay. And then we have 4 files here that have also been combined together into this one common area. All right. So first question I asked is, please list all the studies and files in our collection. Gives me a description of each one of them. So first question I asked, what communication channels ranked highest in our surveys versus external files, and where do they diverge? Again, you can see the answer here from the surveys and files in the collection. The findings on communication channels preferences are as follows. You can see the results themselves talking about inpatient-centered communication research. 95% of respondents preferred new treatment information to be communicated via doctor's recommendations with the supporting chart here. All right. And of course, again, it's answering the same question about your files, and then divergence. The surveys emphasized trust in HCP-driven and traditional channels. In contrast, external files like those on AI signify a trust signal shift towards integration of platforms, transparency, and combating misinformation. And of course, you can decide to dig deeper and deeper and deeper if you want to.